morning, everyone. We're back here with Cross-Cultural Data Viz, week 3. I was looking on Miro and everyone was working hard on their projects, on the spatial graphics last week. And this week we're going to start to visualize the same data you collected in a different way. So we visualize at least three of the categories or of the data representation that you made in your spatial graph in different types of graphics. So we have hierarchical, relational, temporal, or categorical. So to go back to all this information, we have Andy Kirk, our hero, who developed the chart categories to know what kind of data will be fitting for what kind of type of representation. So we have some examples for you which can help you of thinking of your own data on what kind of way you can represent it differently. Here we have a nice example of Armelle Caron. She had the map of Paris, and funny what she did is she made categories in the map of the shapes. So as you can see, she collected all the triangles of the map, all the liney things, all the different shapes, the square kind of type, and she organized it in a different way. So here you can see a nice visualization of making categories of a map. So you can freely interpret this. I can think of my students who are working with, for example, what kind of trees that you saw on your route from your home to your school. And you can also think of making categories of your trees to make a categorical visualization of what kind of tree is what you've measured, and that you can make there a different scheme of. Well, so also with the hierarchical chart, here you can see a part to whole comparison. So you can see, for example, what kind of categories you have, which you can put next to each other, for example, in percentages, like somebody who had collected their thoughts along the way, if they were negative or positive. So you can maybe compare them. How many negative thoughts did I have, or how many positive thoughts did I have? Or you can compare it to, for example, how many countries. I was thinking somebody who in our class is collecting the way the thoughts are going, or from if you are going from one point to another, he or she is collecting the data from one part. I'm distracted. My child is coming home. For example, that you're thinking of another place on Earth. So maybe you can make categories of these countries and how many times you thought of these countries in percentages as well. Well, for example, for a relational chart, you can think of, we had these different categories that you see, these themes that we've collected, like the social, the physical, the personality and style, and the thoughts and feelings. So if you compare, for example, well, are my thoughts and feelings maybe connected to a physical aspect of where I was passing? So you can find correlations of things that maybe are together. Well, there are many ways of approaching this. So this is just an example that we're showing you. And of course, we have the temporal graphics that you can also think of. So maybe all the events that happen on time in a timeline, that you make a visualization of where did you meet people and how long did you talk to them, or well, many different ways to approach a time aspect. This is you can have a timeline, of course, but you can also use the circle visualization. This is another example, somebody who made a nice view of when things are blooming according to spring, summer, fall, and winter. So it's all possible to think of different ways to make a new visualization of your data. I'm gonna give the word to James. He's gonna explain some theory to you.
Okay, I'm not looking directly at the camera because I'm looking at a big screen next to my camera, so it's not that I don't want to look you in the eye. But hello, everybody. Visual cues. This is good to look at when you start because there are really only a very limited number of things that you can use in a visualization to influence the meaning of it and the decoding of it by the viewer. And this is them. This is basically what you can do. In general, this is true for graphic design. These are the things that graphic design can vary in order to direct your attention, make something more or less important. And the nice thing about this slide is that he shows how these things are applied exactly within data visualization. So an angle can be, making something greater or smaller. Shapes can show you the different things that are being measured, the different objects. And the others are shown exactly as they would be if you were using them to get information across, to get data across. So definitely worth looking at as you start. Go to the next slide.
Yes.
Okay, and this is interesting because in the vertical column, what you see is patterns that show you something about the trend in the data. Is it getting greater? Is a certain variable increasing? Is it decreasing? Is it both decreasing and increasing in some kind of regular or irregular way? Is there something about the particular data point that is different from all the others? Is it an outlier? Or is there just no pattern at all? Is it just a kind of a mess? And what he does then is to show you how those different visual cues we've discussed in the last slide can be used for each of those patterns. So, at the top, just starting at the top left, you see that if something's increasing, you can use the position to show an increase, you can use the length, you can show an angle, use an angle to show the increase. So this will help you as you look at your data and try to make a decision about how you're going to represent it, what you're going to use. Yeah, next. Scales. It's good to know that if you're going to use a scale, especially a scale where um, the measurement itself, the numerical difference matters, where it's not arbitrary, not very arbitrary, it's important to know that there are different kinds of them. So, just knowing that this is there and what you can use and what kind you're using is important. So if you have, for example, you see the ordinal, the name says it there, the order is important. But if you look at the one from horrible to great, the ordinal scale, you can't say that something that's okay is exactly as much better than uh, one more time. If you look at the difference between bad and okay, you can't say that's exactly the same difference as between okay and good. It looks like it is, but this is a subjective thing. You can't measure it like that. So the order matters. In any case, you know that okay is better than bad, but exactly how much better than bad, you can't really say. So it's important to be aware of these differences as you figure out how to show things on a scale. Next one. Oh, and this is a great little explanation from a video by Andy Kirk, once again, our hero, where he explains what these words mean with a little example. And I found it just brilliant because it's a set of concepts which, even though I've been working with them for years, I sometimes can get a bit confused, between an ordinal and a nominal categorical variable. But with this little example of Usain Bolt running a race, it's really clear what you're doing. So you can use this to figure out what kind of variable you have. Yep.
Yes. Yes. I think yeah, or did I interrupt you?
No, no, not at all. Please.
Yeah. So then we're almost there. So you can go and work and stop watching videos and start working and have fun. I hope to see you all in our meeting online on Thursday again. If you want to talk to something about your work, we're happy to help you. And you can
Yes.
also send a message.
Yeah,
So
send a message anytime.
yes, hope to see you again. Have a great
Okay.
week. Bye
Bye-bye.
bye.